Today, I would like to begin with round 47. The title of today's lecture is the process of the living creatures. The Earth was born nearly 4.6 billion years ago, and the first living creature of the Earth was the blue-green alga. The plural form is algae, and the singular form is alga, which was born in the sea. About 400 million years ago, the fish was born in the sea, and this fish evolved into amphibian creatures, and they evolved into dinosaurs. Then the mammalia animals, that is mammals appeared. In a historic relics of German, a fossil which was supposed to be the ancestor of both the human being and the anthropoid, 유인원 in Korean, anthropoid, was discovered. And the oldest fossil of the human being of the earth is called the Tumai Primitive Man, who lived nearly 7 million years ago. First of all, let's consider the contents concerning accidental, that is the evolution, or the creation. In Buddhism, all of the things in the universe change as time goes on, and they change in the course of 성주 괴공. 성 means molding or making, and 주 means staying, and 괴 means destroying, being destroyed, and 공 means to become nothing or null. After being created with the Big Bang, galaxies and stars have been born infinitely, and the universe is now spreading continuously. Let's consider the process of the creation of a star. When a lot of space dust gets together, it forms a nebula. And when the density reaches a certain limited point, the nebula begins to rotate, for it cannot endure its own weight. At the end of this rotation, a new star is born. And in the procedure of this new star creation, lots of planets are formed around the star. The Earth was made in the course of this star-planet forming, and the Earth scientists say that the Earth is nearly 4.6 billion years old. The Earth walked a long way from the beginning step to the present human being dominant ages, namely from the Archaeozoic era, 시생대 in Korean, Archaeozoic era, to Proterozoic era. Proterozoic era means 원생대 in Korean, and Paleozoic era, 고생대, Paleozoic era, and Mesozoic era, 중생대, and Cenozoic era, 신생대, Cenozoic era, and at last to the humanity era, 인류시대, humanity era. From now on, let's consider the first creation of the living creatures on the earth several hundreds of millions of years ago on the earth. Of course, the first living creature may have been bacteria or blue-green alga or algae, 남조류 in Korean, algae. It is said that there appeared some of the living creatures about 3.5 billion years ago in the sea. The next sentences are from naver.com, and these sentences explain well the revolutionary process of the living creatures on the earth. About 4.6 billion years ago, the sun and the earth were created in the wide space. The newly born earth was covered with the hot magma. As time went on, the temperature of the magma went down, and the vapor in the atmosphere got together, and there was the heavy rainfall all on the surface of the earth. As the long time went on, the magma got hot and the water got together in the lower part of the earth and it became the sea. The atmosphere had neither oxygen nor any ozone layer, and so the strong ultraviolet rays from the sun hit the surface of the earth, which environment made it impossible for any living creatures to live on the earth. However, the inside part of the sea was different from the land, and the first living creature, blue-green algae, began to appear nearly 3.5 billion years ago, as I mentioned just before. And various sort of living creatures like amoeba or bacteria appeared. And these small creatures made oxygen in doing photosynthesis, 광합성 in Korea, photosynthesis. About 440 million years ago, fish appeared in the sea, and they went on evolving into various other kinds of creatures. As the living creatures of the sea had made oxygen strenuously, the atmosphere had a lot of oxygen, and the ozone layer was formed, which could prevent the strong ultraviolet rays of the sun from reaching the surface of the earth. Nearly 360 million years ago, some amphibian creatures which could live outside the sea appeared. Some of the amphibian creatures evolved into the reptiles, and they adapted themselves to the surroundings of the earth surprisingly. Consequently, they evolved into the water world ruling Ichthyosaurus, that is 어룡, fish dragon, 어룡 in Korean, fish dragon, or turtles inside the sea, and land world ruling animals like dinosaurs. When the first dinosaurs appeared, all of the continents of the world were linked together, which name was Pangea, and so the dinosaurs lived all on the earth as they were dispersed. The climate of the world then was much warmer than that of today, and the area which was situated in the southern eastern part of Mongolia desert today was covered with flourishing plants, and lots of dinosaur groups lived on that land. When dinosaurs were at their best about 200 million years ago, some of the mammalia animals, mammals, appeared. However, nearly 65 million years ago, some of the unknown reason caused the sudden climate change, and scientists presume or suppose two main causes of the serious change of the surface of the earth, and accordingly, there was the change of the climate. What made this change? Scientists suppose that there was a great scale of volcano eruption or certain asteroid colliding against the surface of the earth. The dark dust cloud prevented the sun rays from coming to the earth, and therefore all of the surface of the earth became dark. The flourishing wood got parched without sun rays, and the dinosaurs without food and warm temperature disappeared all from the earth. Well, up till now, I've told about the process of the living creatures from the beginning of the appearance of the living creatures for the first time to the age of dinosaurs. Then, we can here think that this process was performed not only on the earth, but on nearly all the planets of the universe. Of course, on a certain planet, some creatures can inhale not the oxygen, but nitrogen or hydrogen. But anyway, in a certain planet, the first stage must be that of hot magma, And as time goes on, the high temperature gets lower and lower, and at last there can appear some of the living creatures. Hence, the cause of the various living creatures mentioned above. Here, we can conclude that when the condition for the living creatures is made, the evolution of them, composed of lots of species, are performed on all the planets of the universe. Now, let's think of the academic subject which has been vitalized in the 20th and 21st century, and how human beings have evolved for several million years in the course of the history of the Earth, beginning from Archaeozoic era through Proterozoic era, 원시대 in Korean, Paleozoic era, Mesozoic era, Cenozoic era, and at last the humanity era. From now on, let's consider the first Archaeozoic era through Proterozoic era, Paleozoic era, Mesozoic era, Cenozoic era, and at last to humanity era. Recently, the development of anthropology met the twinkling era of spreading its horizon to the far ancient ages. A fossil skeleton, which is supposed to be the ancestor of both humanity and primates, was found in the German Messel district in 1980s. The primate is supposed to have lived about surprisingly 47 million years ago. Recently, anthropologists found the oldest fossil of human being who lived about 7 million years ago in Africa, and this fossil is called the Tumai Primitive Man, Tumai Wonin in Korean. The scientific name is Sahelanthropus chadensis. The other old fossil is called Ramidus fossil, and the former name is Ardipithecus ramidus, who lived about 4.3 to 4.5 billion years ago in Africa. The next sentences say about Tumai fossil in the Encyclopedia of Nature. A team of French paleoanthropologists found 6 human fossils, that is, a skeleton, 3 teeth, and 2 lower jaws in 2002. The scientific name of these fossils is Sahelanthropus chadensis, Sahelanthropus chadensis, the meaning of which is a human being named Sahel who lived in Chad. The nickname of it is Tumai Primitive Man, and the meaning of Tumai is the hope of life in Chad language. Recently, scientists found out with the method of DNA analysis that human being and chimpanzee is closely related with each other, and the supposed time when these two species were parted from each other is about 5 or 6 million years ago. However, as this fossil is different from that of chimpanzee distinctly, the first ancestor of the humanity might go up to 1 or 2 million years more to the past. Paleoanthropologists could trace the process of evolution from the past 5 million years to the present age with the fossils of primitive man. Here, Australopithecus afarensis, who appeared 3.5 million years ago, and Ardipithecus ramidus, who appeared 4.4 million years ago, played an important connecting link, and both of them walked with 2 legs only. If I mention those representative researchers, I can say about Mary Leakey for the first time. She found a human fossil called Australopithecus boise in Africa in 1959, and this fossil was 1.8 million years old. In 1924, Raymond Dutt found the child's skeleton, which is a low head and protruded jaw called Australopithecus africanus, and the nickname of it is Town Child. The child lived 2 or 3 million years ago. In 1938, Robert Broom found a skeleton called Australopithecus robustus, which lived 1.5 to 2.0 million years ago. However, the supposed fossil, who was the ancestor of both human beings and various primates like chimpanzee, orangutan, and gorilla, who lived in the era of 7 million years ago, had not been found yet. Therefore, there was no apparent source of explaining the fact that the human beings and other primates were parted from one another during the year of 7 to 8 million years. And there was little basis with which they could explain how the human being and primate have been linked with the present humanity. However, great attention was paid to this Tumai fossil, for it was supposed that this fossil might explain the human evolution explaining missing link, which lived just after the human ancestors departed from other primate ancestors. On the other hand, it seems that we have to consider the starting place of the human beings again, for the human fossils were mainly discovered in southern Africa, southern Australia, and eastern Africa. But as a result of recent Tumai fossil, it came to be possible to think that the old ancestors of the humanity began to live in the Central Africa nearly 7 billion years ago. Now let's consider the Aramidus fossil, whose article is in the Encyclopedia of Nature. In 1992, a new fossil was found in Africa, and it was the primitive man's fossil who lived at the supposed beginning time of the human beings. And the scientific name is Ardipithecus aramidus. As this fossil, which is supposed to have lived nearly 4.4 million years ago, shows the beginning evolution step of bipedalism. Bipedalism means walking with two legs. It is evaluated to be one of the oldest human fossils which have been found up till now. However, the bipedalism has not been proved completely, and so some of the anthropologists claim that this fossil is not the ancestor of the human beings. On December 20, 1992, a professor called Tim D. White, whose major subject was the integrative biology, 통합생물학 in Korean, integrative biology, found a species different from the Australopithecines at Aramis remains in the middle place of Awaish River in Ethiopia. This news became well known to the people through the thesis in the science book, Nature. And the title of the thesis was Ardipithecus lamidus, a new species of early hominid from Aramis, Ethiopia. Even though this lamidus primitive man lived in the wood about 4 million years ago, just like Australopithecus anamensis, the teeth of it were smaller than those of anamensis, and they looked like the teeth of the primates. And so, anthropologists made a new genus name, 성명 in Korean, new genus name. On the other hand, Professor Swagen of Tokyo University of Japan discovered a fossil which was 5.8 to 5.2 million years old at the same place where Lamidus was discovered. This fossil, which is a close species of Australopithecus lamidus, is called Ardipithecus lamidus cadaver. where there is a human fossil, which is both a skeleton and whole body, that lived around 3.5 million years ago. In the anthropology world, it is a nearly miraculous event to find this sort of whole body. The fossil was named Lucy, and it is a female fossil. The scientific name is Australopithecus afarensis, discovered by Donald D. Johanson, American, who is one of the most excellent anthropologists. And since his discovery, anthropology began to advance greatly. Recently, a skeleton of a child who lived in the same year of Lucy was found, and it made people quite surprised. Therefore, the fossil was named the Child of Lucy.